And welcome back, everybody. This is OLDBOB'100025 with special guests Byter. Give him a stick and fuck, I had this already, but I couldn't do it.
Yes, we're off to a great start.
Give him a stick and watch out, Mad Cats. I know. Larsh, the casual MechWarrior, Commander Lemming, the meme, the legend, Commander Lemming. Team Redshirt, where he always loses one of his men on every away mission. And Hyperpulse Uplink. Yes, I said that. Hyperpulse Uplink. Thank you.
You messed it up.
Generator. It's
HPG Uplink.
HPG Uplink.
I swear to God.
You know some of these I do on purpose, though. You know that, right?
Probably.
And Bonnie, where he has a reward named after him. And Old Bob, where I'm just a potato. And so tonight's topic is things that are wrong with MechWarrior Online. So I will take it. Whoever wants to go jump in first, I'm going to have to do some technical crap. So you guys, whoever wants to jump in first, go right ahead.
I'll jump in first because this is a problem that I've been having today. So I'm trying to get footage for a quad PPC Warhawk.
Just give me a second.
Thanks for the heads up.
I wanted to show people that PPCs are viable on clan omnis that have the PPC quirks. And my game, like on average, I would say my game crashes every 10 loads. And it's really frustrating. I know, Bob, you're working on a video about, gamer rage and how people get tilted. And for me, I'm a very competitive person. So even in quick play, like I want to win. Like it's almost like a drug. Like I need to win, right? And there's nothing worse than feeling like you automatically failed your team because of circumstances outside of your control. I mean, you load back in and you're either like way out of position and you're either desperately trying to catch up, or you have to wait for like the second circle of the NASCAR to rejoin your group, assuming they survive that long, or you're just dead to like an intrepid young Arctic cheetah looking to get his first kill in the wild, and it's just super frustrating. And this has been going on since I guess I've been playing this game for 2 years now, and it's still the same problem. I have a different processor on this machine than the first one I played with, a different motherboard, different GPU, and it's still the same problem.
Do you have the same hard disk?
The hard drive? No, it's a different hard drive as well. I have my old hard drive's now my storage drive where I save my files on, but yeah, it's a different hard drive. And it's still the same problem over and over again, 2 years, and it's really frustrating that the technical aspect of that. And I'm not the only one. Like today, one of my videos that I actually had footage from is like 2 people crash. Me and another guy instantly crash, and then it becomes a 12-0 stomp.
And so the issue is actually just crashing then, right?
Yeah, it's just on load. The game crashes, and I've been sending the crash reports for 2 years, and I contacted support. I tried to get in touch with them and bring their attention specifically to my issue. Nothing.
Well, that's basically they got to have I mean, PGI is a pretty small company, but in that sense, Russ did say, "Oh, it's not my issue. It's actually your servers and you guys, Comcast and all this stuff. It's all you guys and not me." Like, don't you remember that tweet that he did?
Actually, we can all very much relate with the fact that in every other game, if not every game, there's always at least 1 or 2 people who have disconnected.
Exactly.
And particularly in this game where being down a player is so significant, it's not like Call of Duty or Overwatch where you can just pull in another player or whatever. Being down one mech is a permanent loss for your whole entire team.
Yeah. Because there's only one life in these games. There's not multiple. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, speaking of multiple lives, like in faction play, like I said earlier, when I try to load into a siege game, I crash. But I've also been in so many games lately of because of the events, just did normal things like Conquest and whatnot. In one game, I had 3 people who didn't connect until like basically we'd lost.
Oh yeah.
So it's bad. I don't know if it's because they were connecting to the wrong kind of server. Like they could be from Oceanic trying to connect to American, or across seas, or opposite. You know what I mean?
Well, also too, it might be that with the server load from PGI, because a lot of new people come in just because of the tech, and I know it's just happened almost as right as the tech. Like at least like frequently that they've been having a lot more crashes. And it might be because the server load just overloaded. I don't know. That's just my own take on it, I guess.
It's For me personally, at least, I very rarely have any problems with crashing. When I started the game, I had it in full screen window, and by alt-tabbing back and forth, the game would crash after a certain period of time. But by changing the windowed mode, it doesn't crash at all anymore, so I do not have any disconnect problems whatsoever. But one time I did have my internet provider kind of poop out, so that my internet speed was about 0.5 down and something ridiculously small up, which of course meant I couldn't really play games at all. I would randomly disconnect from about half the games, at which point it was completely unplayable. But I could totally relate. I know a lot of people who, due to their internet or their computer, somehow have consistent problems with certain maps, certain modes. There's problems all across the board, as I think probably is the case in any PC computer game.
True. Okay, so we got like crashes. Like, what do you guys think else is a problem? Do you think that the tier system is a big problem? I know that's a triggered. That's a triggered like issue there. Yeah.
Well, I think.
Can we talk about the tier system? I'd love to talk about the tier system.
Okay. One at a time. We'll talk about the tier system. So, who wants to go first on the tier system? Go.
Age before beauty, Bob. You're first.
Oh hell no, man! I can't even talk right now. My voice is all fucked up.
Okay, beauty before age then. So tier system. Hello.
Oh, then I must go now.
Everybody, my name is Bonnie. So I've been around since the alpha of this game. I've played MechWarrior for a long time. I've never really understood the tier system. I've been in tier 5 since alpha, and anybody watching the podcast is like, "Oh God, this guy sounds like a really shit player." No, I'm not a shit player. It's just I don't really care.
Okay. You cut out.
Speaking of internet cutouts,
the mic.
Wow. I'll just say that.
Bonnie?
I just don't really care. Audience. PGI and Russ realized that Bonnie was going to go ahead and talk shit on his company, so he cut him from the source.
Banned him from Discord.
Well, it's either that we have to blame or Russian hackers.
Russian hackers. There you go.
Clearly. Das Vidania, Bunny.
Thought banished.
Jesus.
Oh Jesus, that's funny.
Now, does Bonnie even know?
I don't think he knows.
I don't think he knows.
Did he just talk the whole time?
Sorry. Great podcast.
There he is.
There he is. Yay.
Shush.
Okay, go again, Bonnie.
Internet cut out. Anyway, I'm watching the podcast on my phone, and all I hear is you guys laughing. I'm like, what? Oh wait, I'm not talking. What's going on?
Oh, good.
But so like lately, for example, since back when the CivMechs came out, I've been ending up in games with tier 3s and 4s as well. I've noticed. But it kind of just happens.
Okay.
Well, a lot of anger has come about, and you can tell they're higher tiered simply because of the way they act toward your gameplay. Like specifically, like if you're doing poorly in a match, they'll like freak out, like, "What are you doing? Why aren't you here? Why aren't you there?" And I'm like, because I'm playing the way I want to play. They're like, "No, you can't do that. You got to do this. I've been in comp and everything like that." And I'm like, I'm tier 5. Why are you here?
Well, they had to do that because of the bucket system, though, because they were getting, no one actually, on tier 1, you'd be just playing against like 12 people when there's a bunch of tier 5 guys, and they had to do that based on time zones and everything.
So, okay. Bonnie, what's the takeaway from what you're unhappy with the tier system? Is it the fact that you're getting put into matches with people that are there just to win, and you're just trying to have fun piloting your mech and doing whatever?
Think the internet cut out on them.
Just that they, just that they need to fix their system of leveling, like who you end up with, because it's definitely unfair. If let's say you end up with a full team of tier 5s and a full team of tier 3 and 4s, tier 5s are more than likely going to get crushed under the heel of the 3s and 4s. If they would fix that, I'd be very happy and possibly be able to actually move up.
Well,
so that's what I have to say.
Russ said that. I mean, isn't the system designed in such a way that it's supposed to equalize MMR between teams? Like, theoretically, you're not going to have teams with like a full tier 3 team and then facing off against full tier 5. They should be mixing up. I mean, that's the impression that I've gotten from what Russ has said about how they want their matchmaker to work. So, like, not to like discredit what you're saying. Certainly, you feel the way you feel, but I'm just saying I don't think that it's supposed to work like that, and I don't know. But I do have one thing to say.
There is a system to prevent that.
Yeah.
In theory,
I do have.
I do have one based on player counts, and I'm sure we don't have the player counts to guarantee that anymore.
Yeah, and so many of these things are interrelated. I want to say one thing real quick. As far as people with bad attitudes, like, why are you doing this? You're an idiot. Like, go here. Like, there are people that are tier 5 that have talked shit to me, and like, for anyone that's watched my channel, I'm pretty much one of the better pilots, and people that will run in there, put up like 35 damage, get slaughtered, will talk shit to me. So don't think that because someone's talking down to you that they're automatically a higher tier, because I've gotten told off by people that are way lower tier, and it's just one of those things where, people, you're going to run into bad people in all walks of life, just like in real life. There's bad doctors, there's bad lawyers, there's bad whatever, and then there's good cops, for example, since that's a hot button issue.
Yeah.
There's a mix of good and bad, no matter what. Yeah, exactly. So just because someone's talking down to you, I don't think you can automatically say, oh, they're an elitist tier 1 prick, because that's not the case, man. Like, there's just bad apples no matter where you go, and sometimes not even bad apples. Sometimes someone's just having a bad day. Everyone's human. Sometimes you just gotta cut them some slack.
Yeah, and I was actually just gonna say that too, where like the whole tier system. I mean, yeah, sure, there is like 1 through 5, 1 being the best, but like you said, is that like all last week. I mean, I'm tier 1, and last week I've been really like stressed out with like home life and work, and I played like absolute shit. So it really just comes down to how you feel that day too.
Yeah.
Well, I know, like, there's plenty of times I want to go blow up and go batshit crazy, but it's just like, should I do it? I don't know. It's not worth it, type thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So
to get back on topic, at least with what is wrong with the tier system, at least similarly with the crashing, particularly with tiers, it's a bit imperceptible, at least because you can't tell what people's tiers are unless you ask in game,
and then it might not even tell you the truth.
You have to trust their word.
Yeah.
And even if you do know their tiers, what does that mean? A lot of people refer to tiers as just a glorified XP bar, that as long as you perform reasonably well and play enough, you will eventually go up and up and up and reach the top of tier 1.
I am definitely not that type of person. I'm still tier 2. I've been playing for a long ass time. I am not that type of person.
You and me both, buddy.
Well, the part that's scary to me is the fact that I have an itty bitty sliver now before I go to tier 1. I've been moving up at like rapid speeds since I think I put a thing on Twitter that said
Nerf light tag, carrying scrubs.
But
Nerf it.
No, seriously, and that I don't want to be tier 1 because you do get matched with more tier 1 players like that.
Oh yeah,
I'll tell you though, we had a night, me and my roommate had a night playing with Christian, and we must have hit tier 1, mostly tier 1 guys, except for me and my roommate. And that was a lot of fun. We got our ass kicked most of the time, and Christian was ready to kill us both. But it was a lot of fun.
I was not ready to kill you. But
the thing that's also true is that there's a huge spectrum of what is tier 1. Like, tiers do not feel like an MMR system to me. I'm going to agree with the fact that it's almost a glorified XP bar.
Yeah.
Because
may I interject?
Really bad tier 2 players.
May I
you look at people and you've got Bowser in tier 1, or people, Kabamaru, Bowser, people who actually could whoop my ass in 2 seconds. And then you also look at the other players in tier 1 that have absolutely no chance of beating people like that.
Yep. I would like to say something. As somebody that's skirmed against like guys from EMP and done 1v1s with Bowser and the guys from CSJX when that was a comp team, I actually did a couple of competitive drops in tournament with CSJX back in the day. I have to go with Lemming's assessment that there are so many tier 1 pilots that cannot hold a candle to other players in tier 1. And I think Russ needs to take a long, hard look at the quality, or I guess the spectrum of player that MWO really has, and try to establish a couple more segments to that bell-shaped curve, because not all tier 1 players are the same, and not all tier 1 players bring the same mechs to each match. Like, for example, if I drop in, let me think, 2 similar mechs that a lot of people are going to think are going to perform similarly. A Kodiak and a Direwolf. Both 100-tonners, clan tech. You're expecting similar kinds of performance, but I'll tell you personally that I do not, like, my KDR on my Kodiaks is all like 3.5 plus. My Direwolves are stuck at 2.5 because they have low mounts, their hitboxes are not as good as the Kodiaks, and a plethora of other reasons. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is we need more stratification of the tier system. That way we can have more balanced matches, and we can select, I guess, better anchors around which we formulate teams. Like when Team Red Shirt, what's your roommate's name? I'm sorry.
It's Salt for now. He's working on a new name. But
okay, so Phenom, Salt, and I were dropping group, and we're facing off against Bowser and a bunch of the other, like, people that you may not know of as like tournament players, but they're in competitive teams nonetheless. Yeah. And we were being matched with them time and time again. And until I got Phenom and Salt to get on Timbers and play Laser Vomit Timbers, we were getting consistently like 2-12, 12-0, just like getting stomped. And we had to, my friends had to go and drop out of their fun mechs and play something competitive, and then we won. And it's just one of those things that I think not just the pilot rating, but the mech that you're dropping in, there should be weights attached.
Weights, like
in theory,
by weights.
In theory,
you can't.
Mechs are supposed to be balanced.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. You zero.
Okay. All right.
Someone's triggered.
Dude. Yeah. So go ahead and drop in a quad PPC Warhawk in a tournament match for money and tell me how that works out for you.
Yeah.
But,
like I said, in theory, they're supposed to be balanced, and implementing a system that balances matchmaking based on the strength of the mechs that they're in actively acknowledges the fact that this mech is stronger than the other, which is supposed to be eliminated by actual numerical balancing with quirks.
Yeah. Okay.
So that
the whole thing,
the system
about
that you'd be proposing would be like step 2, or actually it'd be taking a step back from actual balancing.
Well, I think
into the idea of what we say is or is not wrong with MechWarrior Online. I wouldn't argue, of course, that the matchmaking system or the tier system is perfect. The question is, though, how good can you really expect the system to be? How could the system be improved within reasonable limits? And it's easy to always make suggestions and say, "Oh, I would love it if it was this and that," but lots of people have different priorities and different ways they would like to frame how that system works. Like, for example, we just talked about. We should weigh the mechs according to their performance. Like perhaps the individual performance of each player. If I perform really good in the Cyclops, then it weighs me really high, even if on average not necessarily all Cyclopses perform that well. Well, why would you do that? Well, that would mean you could hopefully balance out both teams to have an equal shot, that it would be a fair fight. And in that respect, at least, if it's a really even fight, that should hopefully be more fun, regardless of the fact that some mechs may be better in certain people's hands or in most people's hands on average.
Well, doesn't World of Tanks do that though?
I don't know. Does it?
Does it? Yeah.
I know that they brought in a different MMR per race in like StarCraft. They did at the higher end, if not all the way through the ladder. So you can, if you're main racing Zerg and you're 65 or 6600 MMR like those top Grandmaster guys are, then you switch to Protoss or Terran, your MMR might be a little bit different based on how you've performed in that. It's still based off of whatever your base MMR is, but still.
I think an interesting comparison point, just as a little example, would be Overwatch. Of course, this has millions of players. It's the big go-to FPS shooter. It's very controlled, rigorous environment. It's not like you've got hundreds of mechs and hundreds of possible builds for each of them. However, for their competitive play, there have been issues with people who are single-character mains, because their competitive system compares your performance with X character against all the other characters. So, for example, a character like Bastion is typically not that effective, at least in the higher echelons of competitive play. However, because there's so few Bastion players, if you only play Bastion and screw it over for your team over and over again, as long as you perform slightly better than the rest of them, you'll actually shoot up to the top of the top tiers, which obviously, even though this is a game with millions of players, a huge budget, and a huge competitive scene that they're trying to leverage, something far, far bigger than MechWarrior Online, even they have huge problems with trying to balance out the ranking systems and make it actually fair and fun.
It's true. I have one quick suggestion that I think would help MMR without necessarily assigning weights to different battle mechs. Look at the accuracy. Like, so far, I think win-loss ratios and KDR and stuff like that is what they use to determine your matchmaking and tier and all that stuff, but I don't think enough weight is being given to accuracy. So I think
like accuracy with weapons.
Yeah, weapon accuracy, yeah. Okay. I think if
that'd be like tier 7, because I always shoot the ground before I go into battle to check my heat.
Let's test it.
I check it just find my fire dart.
But I mean, if everyone does that, then by and large it should even out. You know what I mean? Because that's the behavior I see from a lot of pilots, is testing out how much an alpha is going to run them on each map.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So, but I think assigning more weight to weapon accuracy, and that is something that if battle mech weights are too much of a hot button issue, I think a workaround is going to come from the weapon accuracy, because if you're running like a dual Gauss, 6 whatever, hold on, let me think, like 1 Gauss, 6 medium ERs on clan side, something like that, and your weapon accuracy is good with the Gauss, you were talking like 65-70% accuracy with the Gauss rifle, and you drop in the mech that's carrying a weapon system that you're good with, I think it would give a better match at that point. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, then the issue would also lie on the fact that, then you'd start to have to calculate if those shots are actually kill shots. Like, if there's the difference between a player that shoots arms a lot on accident versus a player that actually hits the CT consistently.
Yeah.
You mean like how when I got into the newer Mad Cats, I just jumped into a variant, and right off the bat in the beginning of the game, I put 2 Gauss shots in the side of a Locust who was running in front of me that was a friendly. Yeah, I'd say.
The accident.
That happens, though.
Which is why that mech's name is Oops.
Solid.
So, okay, so...
with that, though...
I love hearing your mech names, Bonnie. It's great.
I name all my mechs.
All the mechs are named something.
92 of them.
Okay, so we got basically like accuracy and tiers. Okay, go ahead and Byter.
I've been trying to talk all this time, but the delay is holding me back.
Okay, go ahead, Ben.
It's been a while since I looked at my accuracy, but there's an interesting note with even looking at accuracy, because it depends what weapon systems you're using and the typical accuracies you're doing it, and how those accuracies are calculated. For example, if you're using an LBX weapon, if you're firing at very long range, you're only hitting them with a couple of pellets, but does that count as 100% accuracy or just 2% accuracy? Similar, so it really similar. So it depends what weapon systems you're using. Are you using LBXs? Are you using SRMs? Are you using
AMRMs?
Lasers, machine guns? Exactly. A lot of these weapons, even if you aim very accurately with MRMs, a lot of them are just going to, scatter around the target and miss. That's not you being inaccurate. That's just a feature of the weapon system, and it might be you get the unfortunate consequence that you push all the laser boots up in tier, but all the people who use missiles don't gain as well.
I mean, personally, I don't think PGI can actually think that far ahead, though, to tell you the truth. Because right now, I mean, no offense to PGI, don't get me wrong. Like, I do shit on them a lot, but
don't do that. You get cut out. Cut out like I did.
But I think that focusing on that instead of actually focusing on different other aspects, say faction warfare is one of them. Basically, I wanted to get into that too, by the way. But the whole thing is, like, PGI is a small company. They can't really get into that aspect because I think they're stuck on the programming. They're just stuck. They can do little tiny tweaks here and there, but they can't actually do major things like what we're talking about just now.
Another thing.
Small company thing.
Fun fact, actually, my light tag accuracy is 4% right now.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I wonder why.
Fun fact.
Another thing dealing with. Oh, sorry, you go.
At least is, it measures by KD and match score and win loss.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I think that is actually the best the best metrics you can usually do to try and figure out how good a player is doing. If they're doing actions that are leading to their teams to win, they're going to get a higher win-loss ratio, which means they're a more valuable player overall. There's a lot of incalculables that you just cannot find out in these skill systems. How do you know, a player didn't actually perform very well in terms of dealing damage, but they soaked, they led the charge and soaked a ton of damage for their team. They opened up a big push and won the entire game. It doesn't factor in things like shout calling and telling your team where to go and giving them sage and astute advice.
Yeah, they'll never be factored in, though.
You'll never be able to factor those in. So win-loss...
The damage taken one. Sorry, Byter. We're having latency here.
Yes.
Okay, next time we'll be on TeamSpeak. How's that?
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
Speaking of win-loss ratio, what about KDR ratio? Because that's another thing that people tend to look at quite a lot.
I don't really care about KDR like myself. I just play to have fun.
But I think what Byter also brings up. Yeah, but I think what also Byter brings up as another good point is that it's not like Counter-Strike where it's just you versus everyone. Where in MechWarrior Online, this is a quote team-based simulation game where where mainly your goal is to work as a team, and if you are that giant king crab who takes all the damage, you've done your part and you've won the game for your
everyone.
team.
Yeah,
unless you're off by yourself.
Yeah, now that is that, but that's also if you're not part of the team. But if you play as part of the team, the sad reality is you may tank all that damage and you might win, but you also get very little reward for that charge. You get like no C-bills out of it because you didn't do anything based on the game rules.
By the way, interesting Highlander you have there, Bob.
Thank you. About the Highlander thing there. But yeah, it's I don't know. PGI give them a lot of crap, but I really don't think they could actually go ahead and modify the game for what Byter was saying, though, based off all the different factors. Because I don't think they even have that, like that information. Because I've been trying to press Russ, saying, "Hey, dude, give us the information. How many people play before faction warfare, before the patch, after the patch, and then also before events and after events, and then tell me how successful like faction warfare is." And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. I'm wrong. I'll be the first one up there.
Russ's mental system would be running like a slot machine if you told him to do all that.
Wanted to get into faction warfare. So what do you guys think can be improved, or what's wrong with faction warfare?
Oh dear Lord!
Oh no!
Because I've really played it.
I'll tell you.
There's been a lot of people that want to actually merge quick play and faction play.
No, that would be a bad idea. Bad idea.
That would be quite scary. But the thing is that that's the really only option they have if they want enough population to actually balance queues so that it's not just
an hour of just waiting to find a game. Another thing, Inner Sphere pilots really wanted to be 10 on 12.
Oh yeah, that's my thing.
I know that's your thing. Definitely your thing. The way you scream it all the time in faction warfare videos. But
nice.
I honestly would.
I'm screaming at my iPad, agreeing with him.
So
it's a lot more awkward for me than him.
because I'm a lore nut, like Bob is pretty much, except I'm more of the clan side than the Inner Sphere side. But I do agree.
Sorry.
Hey, I don't like Steel Viper, okay? Anybody out there who's a Steel Viper, I'm sorry, you might be a good person. Hopefully you're not a rage cow. But, you know, I don't like the lore behind Steel Viper. But, yeah, I would honestly like to see a 10v12 Clanners versus fuck. I missed my
Clans
point.
versus Inner Sphere.
Clan versus Inner Sphere.
The reason why I say this, basically, is that, yeah, it'll be lore part-ish. Okay, it'll be 2 stars versus a full company of the Inner Sphere, which was kind of like what it is. Plus, it'll factor in the low bidding of the clan scale. We're better, so we're going to be lower to not use as much resources, which then gets in the lore part. Then also, too, it'll balance out how the clans have better weapons, technology, mechs themselves. It balances out that way as well, because the Inner Sphere, let's face it, they're not that good at faction warfare, and all
Rotaries.
Well, not even that. You don't bring rotaries in that game.
You can't
like right now. Inner Sphere is ahead.
Yeah, well, okay.
Miles.
There's a reason why, because everyone jumped on the Inner Sphere because of the technology. Just like in the last 2 kid, everyone jumped on clans because the clans were winning like crazy, and then every day they get 1 million, like C-bills. That's the reason why.
See, this is the thing. Wazoo doesn't play anymore, and he's the derp and troll king besides Snuggle Time. So yeah, that's also a thing. He just hates Inner Sphere now. And the funniest part is he uses more Inner Sphere mechs than clan mechs. And every time I see him on, I'm like, why not use Inner Sphere mechs and just buff them? He goes, it's too much money. And I'm like, what?
Too much money?
Why? That's what I'm saying. Like C-bills, I'm pretty sure is what he's talking about. But because I think he's like me. I just scrape the bottom of the barrels for C-bills.
Well, I'm down to 98,000, so I know that feeling.
I think I'm at 3 mil.
Yeah. Faction warfare is an interesting one, I think, in some ways, because its very inclusion changes the tone of the game very dramatically and very interesting ways. There are 2 very unique things to it. First being the 4 drops. Regular skirmish, it's just one go, 12v12, and you're done. It's just a short, quick skirmish, whereas faction warfare feels like much bigger epic battles almost. And
well, that's what it's supposed to be,
yeah. And in some regards they do certainly hit on that. The other thing, the other key point is this whole tech base, Inner Sphere versus clan. This is appropriate for lore, and this does foster a lot of animosity, or it's a blue team versus red team, very much so. However, by doing so, this animosity in itself can be a problem. There's all these people complaining about Inner Sphere being overpowered, or clan being overpowered, etc., etc.
What's that?
Yeah, and it's so difficult now to balance Inner Sphere and clan. To think not only in a mixed environment in quick play, but also faction play, where they are very much clearly divided.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's always going to be divided. It's always going to be clan versus Inner Sphere.
You look at the forums, or even like the Reddit at this point, and it's one opinion or the other. There's no middle ground with people in faction play when it comes to balance. It's either clans are OP or Inner Sphere is OP.
Well, that's because those people that post are motivated by, I guess, ideological leanings and emotions based on who they think represents them in game. Like if you take, for what my opinion is worth, if you take a look at Inner Sphere tech versus clan tech, it requires very different tactics in faction warfare, which I think is the downfall of clan and IS units alike. If you have ever seen an old school brawler IS push led by an Atlas in faction warfare, you will understand that kind of play used to literally shit on Laser Vomit, because Laser Vomit requires a reset time. You have to be able to cool off. Your DPS is much lower. Your sustained DPS is much lower than a brawler, but you have to get your team in a position where they can spring that trap, and that requires good leadership and good understanding of topography and stuff like that. And likewise, if Inner Sphere unit tries to play the poke game, matching the old medium lasers versus the 6+5 meets Gauss builds and stuff like that. Like, you will never outtrade a clan mech. They have more range, they have more damage. You don't fight on their terms, and that's, I think, a fundamental misunderstanding of so many units leaders. They don't understand the strengths of their tech, especially now. I mean, if you guys watched my video on like the new assault meta, it's actually transferring to heavies as well. I've been playing it on the Orions, and it's doing really well. And Orions are, notorious for being horrible mechs, and it's gonna be.
Yes,
Go on, Byter. I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Before the end of his sentence. Yeah, I would very much agree. Sphere is much more Brawlian, Clan is much more laser bomb, and you have to play to those strengths. Like my drop deck for the longest time was Cataphract, Orion, Vindicator, and something else. All the most uncommon seen mechs, whereas the majority of in the Sphere pilots I see don't know how to play their mechs, and they often try and win a trading game against the clans.
Which is the wrong thing to do.
The reason I bring up this, as a particular point, at least, about this separation of the tech bases, is indeed I do see this as a problem, very much with balance. And in some ways, I wouldn't mind, honestly, if you mixed up the two tech bases, because that way it's a lot less of one tech base versus the other. There's a lot less problems with having to drop with, there's a faction warfare events, and I can't drop with a lot of my friends because they are on the other faction. There's all these things that are pulling us apart, and I like the idea of the law, but in some ways I feel like the detriments to it is worse off than...
Well, technically during the lore, though, around this time, people were actually salvaging tech from the clans and using it for the Inner Sphere. So technically they would actually have, Timberwolves and all that kind of stuff, and Mad Cats and whatever. They would have that kind of stuff to use on the battlefield, weapons and whatnot. And that's what, they can't code into the game for faction warfare, which would be perfect, would be great. Let's say they can only bring one clan mech. That'll be fine. Do that kind of thing.
On top of that, there's no shortage of second line mechs on defensive with the clans, right? Like, why is it that we're not seeing the actual battle mechs on the defending side with the clans? Well, it's because the meta's different and the game's different. But according to lore, you probably wouldn't want to run into a galaxy of frontline Omni mechs as Inner Sphere if you're attacking. It just doesn't go well for you.
Well, yeah, it's a matter of just like Russ putting in different lore aspects and then implement those in a game, which is hard. Don't get me wrong. I commend him on certain things of what he's done, but I give him crap because he hasn't done enough. Basically doing that kind of stuff. Like perfect example, the planets. Planets need to have some type of purpose for faction warfare, because really I don't care if Tharkad gets taken. I could give a rat's ass if it's if it's taken. I don't really give a crap. If Karita was taken, I could care less. But because there's no influence on the game. If the game was like influence, like say each planet produced certain amount of points, or each or taking a capital city, you would lose 10% of everything costs 10% more because it's harder to get materials and stuff like that.
Well, you gotta realize that is the system right now. That's what they implemented in the last patch, that if you lose a certain number of those big popular planets, then your side, Inner Sphere versus Clan, loses.
Well, they have
reset. So what?
Yeah, they have Tharkad and they have Luthien, but I mean, it's going to be like a year before they go to New Avalon or like Arturus, like in Merrick. It's going to be a long ass time before that happens.
Yeah.
Game at its core is first-person shooter, mech shooting mechs.
Yeah.
And I don't really care much at all about the map thing. That does not really hold much value to me. Its only value is predominantly for big units who want to own the planets and get MC.
Yeah.
Or just the fun of going on campaign. I can't very much relate with that. I've never been with that, but I imagine that at least there's a fair number of people who enjoy that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
From my personal perspective, at least, the biggest draw is just 4 drops, a big, huge battle. The whole 2 tech bases, though I am an Inner Sphere pilot, I'm an Inner Sphere unit, and I try and use the Inner Sphere mechs as best I can. But I don't mind if they get rid of the map. I don't mind if they mixed up the tech bases. The only issue with this huge battle with 4 drops is if you're stuck with a bad team, you're stuck with them for half an hour.
Yeah.
May I step in here because this ties into 2 points I wanted to make. The first is an unpopular opinion that I actually enjoy faction warfare. I find that when I get burnt out on quick play, I'll now that it's different now because they incorporate quick play maps in faction warfare, but before, when it was just the siege mode or whatever they call it now, I enjoyed mixing it up because it was different, especially how NASCAR the meta was prior to the skill tree and the engine decoupling.
Yeah.
Like, I literally would just sometimes get burnt out on running in a fucking circle. I'm like, I just want to square up in a fucking firing line, and that's why faction warfare appealed to me. And to some degree, I still find it refreshing, even though the meta is not as NASCAR-y. I still find it refreshing, so I like faction warfare. I like that it ties into lore. They could do a lot more to make the planets worthwhile, like everyone's been saying, so people have a vested interest. And I think PGI could also manage the Merc units, like, say, for example, what's a traditional IS house that just sucks? Lao,
yeah.
They just fucking suck, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you know,
Yeah.
like let's put MS, you know, let's manage the units and, you know, be proactive, and let's put MS on something like Clan Wolf, and then let's put EMP on Layout, you know, and give them MC incentives to play those factions, so that way we have good competitive faction warfare. You know what I mean?
Okay, here's the problem though. Basically, now and before it was fine because intersphere factions can attack each other. Now it's clan versus intersphere. Period. So it doesn't matter if you're from Lao, Steiner, like Davion, like whatever. You're just intersphere now. So that that whole thing would just be kind of like there's no identity except for a sticker on your mech saying I'm from Lao, type thing.
Yeah.
That's the issue I really had a bad thing with, because I was having fun dropping faction warfare against other intersphere units.
I want to go back to a little bit on Christian's point on the siege mode, actually, because that was the same exact thing for me. I like the siege mode. There is a lot more actual tactical value in that game mode than any of the other game modes, considering the fact that it's not just like you can do more than just skirmish most of the time. And when it comes down to gen rushing and shit like that, even when I was in HHOD, I had a shit ton of fun doing gen rushes.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, it was an early form of incursion.
Yeah.
It's a real shame that, well, no, incursion still doesn't even match up to it, because incursion, what happens is that either you have a fuck ton of people that run to the base, or you have. The problem is it's completely even. It's not asymmetrical, and you can't really develop strategy around a symmetrical situation like that, where both teams could just plan to send a lance to the base, and then that could be it. It could just
not exactly the same.
Zerg rushes faster. But with that asymmetrical warfare, there's nothing like it that matches it. And now there's no way to sign up for that exclusive different game mode, because that's what got me drop calling and what kept me drop calling. Now I make dank memes because I'm fucking bored.
Oh, jeez.
There's one for the quote book. We need to put that as a chat room, just quotes or quote board. Just all the stupid things said on a podcast.
That could be a thing.
One aspect we haven't touched on much is the scouting mode, which is personally my favorite.
I love it.
Scouting.
It's not bad.
Was that a fucking tricorder I just heard?
That was my phone.
You're my hero.
That's a tricorder noise, though, right?
Yeah, that was my
Yes!
question. Yeah.
All right, sorry. Cool. That's awesome. Anyway.
Scouting mode, what do you guys think can actually improve, or what's wrong with it?
Tonnage.
Tonnage, like it's like 55 tons now, right?
50.
Oh, 50
it's
tons.
50.
Okay. So
Is
50
it
tons.
50 for both now, or is it still 55 for Intersphere? Because it used to be 50-55 because of Splat Crow.
5 for Innisphere, 50 for Clan.
Yeah, it's still 50-55.
It should be 50-50.
My main criticisms for scouting mode would probably be, whilst it's an interesting mode, there's basically two ways to play it. Either you brawl, you get your biggest, brawliest mech and try and win against the other tech base, or if you're gathering intel, you get the fastest mech possible and just avoid the enemy team and gather as many nodes as you can.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's just like with dropping of a 12-man, you have people who drop in mechs that are just not suitable for either meta, or they drop in a mech that is not really suitable and they don't really play it right.
Like a 90 LR
I've
or a 12 Flame Renova.
But we've done that for funsies. I mean, come on.
I had a match where I dropped with a Cicada, a Phoenix Hawk, another Locust Pirate's Bane. And I chose a Locust because it was clear, okay, we're going to gather intel, we're not going to brawl them out. So I told them in chat, avoid contact as long as possible. Our whole point is to gather nodes. And they charged straight towards the enemy and got themselves killed, leaving me in the... I don't know why the Pirate's Bane is looking for a brawl, but it left me.
What was that?
Guys. That's my phone. Sorry, that's my phone saying that Pittsburgh is under a huge flood storm watch. I apologize.
Oh my God!
That's currently West Virginia.
Get the high ground. Get to the chopper.
Yeah, that's kind of how it is.
Got to chopper now. I'm on.
Okay.
What's a nigga?
I mean, I feel that that's the nice part about scouting, though, is that communication is so vital.
Yeah.
With only 4 people, that you essentially should be running with a group. Like trying to solo drop in scouting is a nightmare. But occasionally you get with a good group and you call targets, and sometimes you go for legs and it works. Nice.
Oh, legs are fun.
4 Griffin, 2 ends, man.
Quite like it. Yeah. In that I take the assassin, and you guys know I like the assassin.
Oh God, yeah.
Yes.
And
very brutal, like what that thing.
I'll lead a group of 3 other puggies, and we'll usually match groups of 4 people, because I'm drop calling and I've got a really good mech that's really good at backstabbing, and it's a hell of fun. My main criticism, I guess, like I said, there's 2 modes, a game mode, 2 ways to play it. And the problem is, as the defender, at least, if you've got, your teammates are jumping in a crab and a Shadowhawk and a Locust, it's like, well, you can't really brawl on defense. Well, I guess it's very likely to be a loss. I don't have a way to play around my teammates, because as a defender, you can only brawl. The only way to stop them is to kill them.
That's not really a complaint against the game mode. That's your teammates being a bunch of dinguses.
Yeah.
But
stop them is to kill them. Whereas otherwise, I can always take a really fast small mech on offense. There's not much interplay for the defenders.
Now, granted, it's been a while since I've played Scouting and Faction Warfare, but does the game tell you whenever you're gathering or defending yet, or is it just you drop in and you find out after you drop?
It tells you before you drop.
Yeah, it tells you.
Okay.
You've got 1 minute to pick a mech suitable for whichever side you get put on.
That's why I have multiple drop decks. That's just player thing. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying that was my biggest complaint about scouting. As much fun as it is just to take Griffins and brawl, it would be nice to adjust your plan going in if that's what you have the chance to do.
Okay. That sounds like they do now, so yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very good in that regard.
I have a question inside my chat, though. Since we're in the last 15 to 10 minutes, we actually take questions in the different chats, and so
let's do it.
Still haven't talked about the rage cows yet.
Yeah, it's probably another video.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Epic says, did the skill tree benefit the IS or the clan more?
Oh,
clearly,
IS. Fucking IS.
Really?
Come on, Bob.
No, hold on. I would have thought it actually went for the clans, because the clans didn't have any quirks whatsoever. So now they have all these different quirks and different things.
Clans now have quirks, but Inner Sphere now has stacking quirks.
Yeah.
Like armor and structure.
Yeah, I guess so, huh? Okay, never mind.
So
you can't forget that the Inner Sphere's percentage of their quirks is also higher than clan. Per skill. In the weapon skill tree, per node, you get more as a percentage.
Because I thought basically
really sort of a toss-up between, do you want extreme specialization or now just slightly better specialization when it comes to what you had before.
Okay. Huh. Okay, well, I guess I'm wrong. And, mark on a calendar, I am wrong.
There was one thing I wanted to get to
Yeah,
on the what's wrong with MechWarrior topic, and I've been outspoken on it before, but I'm really, really not a fan of how the quick play game modes go a lot of the time. They far too, especially when coupled with maps, they
skirmish
promote
mode?
the gross. I actually don't mind skirmish because at least the goal of skirmish is for everyone to go and kill each other.
All modes become skirmish
when you have
mode.
stuff like domination, which is just glorified skirmish, like domination should be 2 points that you can equally capture, and then the goal becomes how much time can you shave off your enemies.
I would prefer that over the.
Right?
Yeah. Sadly, every mode turns into skirmish.
Here's another thing.
It does. There's ways they could approach that, be it reducing some of the bonuses that you get for grouping up, like getting a bonus for your lance only being together, and which is nullified if you're near another lance, right? Kind of gives some benefit that way.
A thing I have about domination is I hate how they moved some of the satellites that you have to stand by. For example, like there are certain satellites now in favor of other team, or where a certain team spawns, like Domination and Crimson Strait now. I really hate because they got rid of it on the dock.
That was a brutal spot before, though.
I preferred that one, though, because both teams could get there at the same time. They moved the spot clear on the other side of the fucking mountain, though. So the team who spawns behind the dock gets there quicker than the ones who spawn in front of it.
Problem
if
is,
they would put it back on the dock, I'd be very happy. But they fucking
get one team above, one team below, which happened last time, and then the team on the bottom would just airstrike the shit out of the guys on top, and game over. Which feels great, by the way.
So that brings up like consumables as well. Basically, do you think that's a good or bad thing? Basically,
I love it, but at the same time, I hate it because of the amount of nodes it takes up.
I like that they put spec points, like you can actually spec into more consumables or more damage from consumables, which is a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
If it's going to be in, we might as well have a chance for people to do a build around that. Light mechs, all the consumable slots, and throwing airstrikes left, right, and center is just a lot of fun.
Yeah, actually, and that's exactly the point I was going to get to with the change in how light mechs play. Like the Knife Fighter light mech is dead. You just don't see them anymore. And as much as I love that playstyle, it's good for the average quick play drop because it discourages NASCAR. And, say what you will, but I think a closer match of 10 to 12 is ideally what we should be striving for, right? Yeah. And I think it kind of stinks that playstyle is dead, but light mechs now perform more lore-wise. They feel more like BattleTech lights, where you can't take an Arctic Cheetah against an Atlas anymore. Not really. I mean, you can, but it's not like it was before. Your job now is to scout early on, to convey information, to support whenever you can, and then to be the airstrike. Really, that's because you're fast, you're nimble, and you're hard to hit. You don't have to expose yourself, and I feel like the consumable slots in the airstrikes, although it sucks when your team collapses, and those matches I'm talking about where everyone goes to one spot on the map and you're like, dude, this is the wrong spot to be in, we need to form a firing line, and everyone just collapses because no one wants to poke, and then you're all encircled and you just get bombed over and fucking over again. Like, that shit fucking sucks. But that's not a problem with the system of consumables, that's a problem with bad gameplay. So
true.
I like airstrikes now.
I love them.
Everyone loves airstrikes now.
Even the artillery is actually scary with the upgraded explosions.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it'll take 20% off of mech easily. It's crazy.
And somehow hits the back of my mech all the time. That's the best part about it.
It's an AoE explosion.
I know.
So, like,
it lands behind me and I get caught. I know.
Yeah.
Like, for example, currently in this game, I'm playing with Dragon 1N right now, and I just dropped both an airstrike and an artillery strike in the same spot. I got more damage from the artillery strike rather than the fuck. I can't talk right now.
The airstrike. We got
Yes.
you, buddy.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got you, man.
That's what I
They
was
need
trying
to have separate smoke colors for that. Even
They-
like
they-
different
That would be
team,
nice.
like
Oh,
red
like
and
that.
blue, red team, blue team, or even like different colors for airstrike versus artillery strike. I'd be okay with.
Because like there's so many times I drop an airstrike or an ice strike. I'm like, did I drop it on myself? Did I just do that? And
I just like
I've
to
done that
know
before.
if it's my team or not.
Yeah, I
That's all
know,
that I
I
really
know.
care.
Like
I've noticed
smoke for
actually,
your team, and smoke for the
Phenom,
enemy.
there's a very slight difference in the smoke tinge that they put in.
Really?
Oh my god, shut up.
Is
Really?
it
shit.
between the
No
two
shit.
types of? Like,
There are team versus enemy. The enemy ones are a bright red, and the teammate
Here's a
ones
orange.
are a dark red.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh, sorry
god.
that my
You
monitor's
know
too
what?
old
That
and
might
color
just be
close.
enough when it's filling your cockpit. Right? Like
It's
when
like-
that shit's right up in front of you.
It's really, really hard to tell the difference, though. If they did blue and red, it would be so much easier. But there is a very, very teeny tiny difference in color tinge that I've noticed over time.
Jeez, I have
When
not
I think
noticed
about
that.
it,
That's interesting.
when I think about it, it's probably just as well that the airstrike and the artillery strike look the same, because if you knew which one it was, your reaction becomes so much different,
Oh yeah.
right? So I could actually think it'd probably be better off for them not to be. Although maybe placement tells you where it is. If it's up in the middle of you, you know. It ain't no
if it's
airstrike.
coming at you.
Yeah.
I don't know if they fixed the thing where
Speaking-
you could
I mean-
aim artillery strikes at UAVs anymore.
You
Did
can
they
do that
fix that?
still.
You still do it.
Oh shit!
I like it. I also like putting the airstrike on top of the saddle in Crimson on top of the big light post. It's great.
Nice.
I've never tried
That's what it's
that.
still-
That is
you can do
that
it
is
from
a
the far
bad,
side of the
bad
saddle.
day when someone on your team puts up a UAV and then right below that UAV now there's just smoke everywhere.
Okay, how about game
I've yet to
modes, guys?
So wrong with the game. I'm not personally a fan of strikes in the sense
That's-
it's cheap, easy damage, and it's so prevalent. You have entire matches just decided by who spams the most strikes, and it's not even like the reason why it's sort of picked in some ways is if you look at the skill trees, you almost always have to pick less valuable junk nodes to specialize in things just like more armor or slightly faster cool rate. But the consumables skill tree, you could just invest like 5 or 6 points, and you've got maximized a double
5.
artillery strike. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 points.
It requires
They
you
should have
don't
done
have
those. Oh, sorry. Carry on, sir.
craft nodes, and at least my personal preference is always to defeat my enemies myself with my own 2 hands. I like that interplay between trading fire,
Blood
XP,
from their
etc.
skull.
Are you sure you're not a clanner?
When
Byter.
you say your own 2 hands, all I think of is you piloting an Atlas and just putting its fists in front of its face and just like unclenching them.
Well, see here, I
Just
got
looking at a
I got the
locust.
king crab claw clapping image.
Fun fact, an Atlas can lift up to 20 tons. So just imagine an Atlas grabbing a locust and
Oh,
throwing
God.
it like a bar stool or something into another mech's face. That's all I
My
think of when
favorite visual from
Bonnie, that's
any
a
of the
that's a
novels
picture, by the way.
Well,
was-
Is that
just
really?
argue.
That's a
Is that
picture.
really a picture?
You got to draw it
I'm
now.
pretty sure it is.
Got to draw it now.
Wait, oh, draw it. Oh, I can draw it, yeah.
my
Yeah, that-
absolute
that's
favorite
photo.
visual from any
You
of the
picked the
novels
wrong house, fool!
was the
Oh, no.
Battlemaster piloted by Hans Davian ripping a Marauder's arm off to beat lighter mech with it. Like, how fucking cool is that?
Excuse me, sir, I simply need to borrow this. Come here!
That's
Oh,
hilarious. That's hilarious.
That's my particular turn of phrase.
That was when
I think that it is a rather powerful and, in some ways at least, degenerative strategy, or at least it's a very low investment for the power that you get, and that's why you see a lot of it. I would suggest that it would be wise toning it down in some regards. You could perhaps, do more with the smoke screens and making it so that they're more avoidable. Or the
there
other
should be
thing
a
that I've
smoke
noticed.
screen. To hell with that.
Says smoke
It-
screen, thinks of a raven with a ninja hood.
Well, the part that sucks is
Like-
that it's not cheap to get arty strikes and air strikes every single game, especially when you're
Yeah.
saving up for shit like new
Yeah.
tech
Or
or
skills.
a new mech or anything
Especially
like
'cause
that.
they
Or
took
skill.
all of ours away.
Essentially, the team, like you were saying earlier, the team that drops the most arty strikes can actually determine the game. And for cheapskates like me, oh god, that word, but yeah, cheapskates like me don't spend shit on those. I don't even get cool shots or anything like that because I don't want to spend that because I know I'm not going to make back 40,000 C-bills from an arty strike or maybe I'll make 40k back from a UAV or a cool shot if I get a kill, but it's just, it feels like I'd be investing too many C-bills for it, and then everybody else is dropping airstrikes. So now if I want to try and keep up and be able to dish out the same amount of arty strike damage, I have to decrease the amount of C-bills I'm going to make per match.
I've never looked
doesn't
at
feel right.
UAVs as a C-bill making thing, although with the expanded range, they can be. I tend to use them as oh shit, there's someone behind me and I need to make sure I keep eyes on them, so I pop a UAV or hold a flank. Like, it's more of a information thing for me than any money-making thing. So, interesting.
Okay.
You turn C-bills into XP very often because you earn experience points when they damage people, when you spot people, etc. So if you want to quickly skill up a light mech, you just charge kamikaze straight into the middle of the enemy team and pop a UAV, and then you've got 4K experience.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done that.
Okay,
yeah, I think at least it should be easier to see where the strikes are landing so that you could avoid them, or you make the cooldowns longer. Because I think, like, for airstrikes in particular, sometimes I've seen it where it cycles really, really quick after the last strike is used. And that's the thing, like, I'm just standing at a position and strike lands one after the other. That is ridiculous. I mean, it's good for them to suppress you, but this is just destroying entire mechs before they even have a chance to move. If I remember my Annihilator, I can't get away!
God, you totally sound like a clanner, dude. You are not a pilot at all.
See, what if they pulled like a PUBG and put like a little like red circle or red line as to where the bombs are about to land after the smoke drops?
What if they added long toms equipable to mechs like they did back in Merc 4 and 3?
No, can't be doing that.
I would laugh my ass
Arrow
off.
400 or Arrow 500 back.
Oh god.
Okay.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
That would be a decent idea if they had a mini-map notification of this area is red and it is going to explode momentarily.
Nuclear launch detected.
Exactly. Okay, how about this will be the last thing, and how about game modes, guys? Game modes. What can be improved, or what is really crappy about some of the game modes? And
fuck Escort.
Well, I already touched on domination a little bit. I've had an idea. Okay. I touched on domination a little bit, and I've been wondering if maybe there should be some reworking with incursion, because we have those power points in the middle. Maybe if that was a domination style circle where you had to hold it, it would make people kind of devote a little bit of a presence there, as opposed to grouping up and rolling out with everybody.
It would also be nice if they
I do have a video coming out with a guy who went quiet when our whole team died, powered down, and I think 5 or 6 assault mechs walked past him.
Oh, jeez.
It was amazing.
I've done that. It's hilarious.
Dealing with incursion, I think there'd be a bit more enticement for people to get batteries if they up the C-bills you got from them.
Yeah.
For example, nobody ever wants to touch batteries. Like, as example, I believe it was Trent and Bouncer a couple of days ago. They'd never touched the batteries in incursion. And I said, why haven't you guys done that? You get like 100k C-bills for getting them and returning them. They're like, oh, really? Okay, fine. So for 2 straight games, they did that. And then Trent goes, oh, really, Bonnie? And I'm like, what? You only get fucking 16k per battery. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And he goes, you tricked us. And then Bouncer goes, I can't say anything about that because it was a good troll.
Okay.
But it'd be nice if they gave you more C-bills than just the 16k. Like maybe up it to maybe 20, 25k. I think that'd be a good range, considering nobody touches batteries unless...
At least some people are actually doing it, like even capturing points too. It's like, okay, cool, I got that amount of C-bills, big deal. You know, I mean, it does help the game, but I'm not getting much.
Well, that things for like domination and incursion for me. Incursion I feel like one team needs a base and the other team needs to attack it.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be cool.
Like I said earlier, because that symmetrical gameplay is nice, but it doesn't fit perfectly. And then for domination, percentage-based calculation of number of people in the circle. Because if you can put one light mech in the circle,
That'd be good.
if you put one light mech in the circle, you can count that shit down or stop it from counting down, and then just NASCAR around the outside, and it doesn't fucking matter. And it defeats the purpose of having domination in close quarters, where you can have like a whole lance of Lerm boats just outside the circle because they don't have to be in it. If they
I
did
love
a
powering down in the
percentage-based
circles instead.
calculation of how many people are within the circle per team, then you have to at least put everyone within the edge of the circle, and that makes the game into what it's intended to be, an actual King of the Hill scenario.
Exactly.
That's a good idea. So,
That's a really good idea.
yeah. So essentially, just have it stack based on how many mechs are in the circle. Yeah, that's good.
Because I can't tell you so many times I'm in my light mech, I'm like, crap, I gotta go to Grim on domination. I'm like, oh god. So I jump and go to the pit. It's like, oh crap.
It's like, fuck that.
A lot of times I actually run around circles like, oh, I'm lost. I don't know what happened here. Oh, okay, you're going cool.
It's like on Grim. It's either go to the pit or go to the trench and hope you don't get hit.
I know. Oh my god. Yeah, they need to really fix that. But how about
so
escort,
dumb.
guys? How about escort? I know this is.
They need
Take
to
it
put
out.
weapons on
Just
the
take it
fucking
out.
Atlas.
There's no
take
way
it
to
out.
fix this.
Trump needs guns. I mean, for God's sakes, he's building a wall already.
Before we get too far away onto escort, I do have something that segues off of what Lemming said as
go
far
ahead.
as asymmetrical game modes, and I brought it up in the last podcast, and I'm gonna keep bringing it up for fucking until the end of time, because in PTS, whatever it was, I wrote an outline for a game mode. It was like dropship attack, basically, where you had a main base for the defenders and then 2 outlying power stations, right? And the base was heavily fortified, like turrets, all kinds of crazy shit, right? And the win scenario was basically the attackers came in on a dropship. If you destroyed their dropship, they lost.
Mm-hmm.
And the win scenario for the attackers was you had to take the base or kill all the mechs. And essentially why the dropship was a win scenario is that way you couldn't just push out all of the mechs as an attacker and turn it into a skirmish mode, because if you left nobody to guard the dropship and they just sent like 2 locusts in, and the dropship would be completely powered down. Like it got beat up on entry and the weapon systems are down, you can write a story to that.
Yeah.
So if you literally leave no one to defend, they'll send a locust or fucking some other light mech piece of shit, and he'll fucking scrap your dropship and you lose. So you would have to split your force, some on defense, some on offense, and as a defender you would also have to split your force, because you can't just let them wander around the map and destroy the 2 power stations and then come into your base, because then it's just a cakewalk. You're clustered up, you can get airstrike to death. You have to defend the power stations. You have to put up a fight outside the base first before you go and make your last stand at the base. So it was, in my opinion, an attempt at asymmetrical warfare to force teams to not just stay grouped up, but there would be a tactical reason to split up and force smaller engagements that weren't as NASCAR-y, even though NASCAR is not as prevalent anymore. But that was my idea.
It's actually a good idea.
That mode might be very good for faction play, where you have respawns, because that faction play does very much encourage more objective play, a more objective play style.
Gentlemen, I was just in a game with one of my locusts, and we had a dire star on our team, and I ran in front of him when he shot.
Oh no.
Where did the dire wolf touch you?
How far did pieces of you get spread over the map is the question.
My mech flew
To the
at least
periphery
like
and
10,
back.
15 meters. and the funniest part was the dire star
surrounded
fucking blamed me. It's like, you fucking locust, why would you run in front of me? I only have 1 shot, and then he overheated, and he's like, good job, and he left the match.
Jeez.
Wow.
Okay.
Meanwhile, me just on the ground, slowly baking in my mech.
So, okay, guys.
Nice.
Okay, it's about 10 minutes over from what we normally do, but go on like last notes, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Don't
I
be
got
a
nothing.
dick.
What's that?
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. It's no fun. No.
Newton's law. I mean, yeah.
Don't troll.
Never go full troll.
Do we have any questions from anyone watching the stream?
I got a couple. Let's see.
If 2K had happened right now, who would win?
Yeah.
That's hard to answer.
I would say if you give the Inner Sphere enough time to understand the power of rotaries plus MRMs, they would win. But like, basically, it revolves around the IS playing a mid-range brawl, if that makes sense, because like you're gonna have your entire company engaged at once, and you're not gonna back down. You can't let the clans reset. You have to push because the DPS and the heat containment of MRMs and racks together is really good. But like I said, you can't let them reset. You have to push and you have to punish them. If you understand that play style, I think the IS would literally slaughter Clan Tech right now because. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I don't play a lot of faction play because I've been burned on it a few too many times, and it's just not fun.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine that the clans could break a gate that had like 6 mechs with racks and some MRM guys covering it. There's no way you get through that.
They'll break the gate, but they'll
Well,
fucking
yeah, they
all
won't
be
get
dead.
through it.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. They'll never fucking make it after that. It's over. So.
Okay, so like last final thoughts, guys.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. There's a couple of times I think I was cut out.
Okay, we'll
Okay,
get to
so
speak
on
next time.
the game that Kristen was talking about, I think that would work very well for faction play, because faction play really does encourage their objective play styles.
We already. You said this.
Yeah,
we heard
we
it.
said this.
We did hear
I
that.
wasn't sure because people weren't really responding to it.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, though, for
Maybe just no one liked what you had to say. How about that?
I liked it. It was good.
We like
With some of
that.
the laughter we've had, I think this has been a great stream.
It's always good times.
It's always good,
the
man.
contrast of that is quick play, because with quick play people complain it's always basically skirmish, but I think in the end that is basically the strength of having a solo drop for that quick 10-minute game. Because you only have one life, in the end, that's the big, huge center point that everyone plays around. Why go after objectives and do all this splitting apart and stuff when you could just form a blob and roll the enemy team? And you know, I played tons of quick play, and I do still quite enjoy it for that. And I think people always imagining that. I mean, yeah, we want some variance, but if you want variance, go scouting, go faction play. Because it's those different starting scenarios that will really change up how you play, rather than the domination circle. Like, all these suggestions are great. Don't get me wrong. There's totally ways that you could perfect it. But at the end of the day, I'm still quite happy with most of the game modes we have in the quick play.
Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, any other last thoughts? And someone else is gonna go and do the outro. How's that sound?
Sounds terrible.
Sounds terrible? Come on.
You do it. You
No,
do
man,
it.
I don't want to do
Do
it.
it.
Opposite channel.
Can Bonnie do the outro?
Sure,
Yeah,
Bonnie.
Bonnie,
Okay,
yeah.
Bonnie.
Bonnie,
I like
Bonnie
how
likes it.
everybody goes, "Oh God,
Oh
no."
God, no.
I don't have anything ready.
It doesn't matter.
'Cause I was gonna-
You think I have stuff ready? Are you kidding?
You sounded like you wrote at least something down with that intro.
Well,
Wow.
well,
Write
You
some
made a joke
sound.
out of my name, man.
well, the intro I did. I do a basic storyboard, and then I do the intro with the outro. Just like, okay, thanks you for watching. I appreciate it. You know, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, and we're done. Bye, guys.
See you later.
That's the end.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Got it.
Okay, Bonnie, go ahead, Bonnie. You now have the mic.
I hope you all enjoyed this little stream. Remember to tune in next week for another Friday night. The first
No,
circuit
actually, I
stream.
gotta do it like every other week.
2 weeks.
Yeah, well, every 2 weeks.
Swift.
Featuring
Shyamalan.
the voice and comedy talents of Old Bob 10025, Larsh, Christian, Byter, the Red Shirt, and myself. Thank you and a good night.
Yes. You got Lemming.
Oh
forgot
yeah,
Lemming.
Lemming, but he
Yeah,
fucking
I don't
left.
like
'cause
Lemming.
it was,
Lemming in the chat. Lemming was like, "I'm done, peacing out."
Oh, really? Oh my God. Thank you everybody for watching. I do appreciate it. You guys have a good night, and I'll see you
Remember to
on
like the
the
video and check
battlefield.
out all our channels.